through those tough times quite easily. It's not easy, but you can get through those tough times.
One of the big things when I was doing research on like hot relationship topics or hot dating takes is how common it is for guys to get friend zoned, and how frustrated a lot of guys seem to be when they go on a date and they feel this pressure to make a move very early on and signal interest. Otherwise, there's this belief that they get
window.
friend zoned.
Yeah.
So how do you prevent guys from getting friend zoned?
A lot of the time men friend zone themselves, and how they friend zone themselves is they desexualize themselves. Yeah, they desexualize themselves. And what I mean by this is there'll be some men that you can't friend zone because they constantly remind you, not just that you're beautiful and you're great, but they remind you that there's some sexual interest in you. So they'll remind you that they have some chemistry with you. They might say to you, oh, God damn, you look great today. Oh my God, he's a lucky man. They give you that signal that they find you sexually attractive. Friend zone men will either never say anything, or when they do say it, they say it the same way a woman would say a compliment, like, I like your dress, or that your hair looks nice. They say the same things a female could have done. So what happens is they desexualize. I'm not saying you need to sexualize and become really perverted or anything, but this is just what happens with friend zone. And the other thing that friend zone men do is they spend too much time around women who are not showing physical interest in them. They're spending too much time investing in women who haven't signaled attraction to them. Men that avoid the friend zone is they gear themselves naturally towards women they can see are attracted to them. There's some level of mutual attraction. Friend zone men will look for women that they're attracted to, but are not paying attention to whether she's physically.
How do you know if she's into you or not into you? I think that's the one thing. Guys, I think universally are all like, I had no idea she was into me. I had no idea. Like, you just have no clue.
I would say one indicator is you have to polarize a woman. And what I mean by that is you have to put her in a position where she's either forced to show that she's interested or not interested. And it could be as simple as you walk quite close to her. And if you see that she's leans in, she's probably connected to you. But if you walk closer, if you lean in and you can see that immediately she goes somewhere else, the attraction isn't there. So it's more of a case of you put her in a position to see, you polarize her. Is she going to go towards you, or she's going to lean towards you or lean against you? And that signals attraction. And and physical affection is really important as well. So what I mean by that is even little things like body language. If they're sitting on a sofa, they'll lean in towards you. They'll make that eye contact. They allow you to put your hand on their thigh or whatever it is. But if everything is pulling away, there's probably not that natural attraction there. Alcohol can blur that, though. I can see when people drink, they can blur that. But generally speaking, it's the leaning in or leaning against physical advances.
Do you think that abstinence is a good thing for people?
Sexual abstinence? I think it's only if you define it including pornography. Some men will abstain from women, but they use pornography on a regular basis, and that would actually be worse. I think abstinence to pornography is more important than abstinence to actual women. And the reason being is actual women still give you a realistic perception of what connection looks like, what connection is required, and the activity that's required in order to get outcome. Pornography allows you to get all of the outcome without any of the work. So that is a dangerous abstinence if you're just using pornography. The most important abstinence is pornography. And if you can abstain from physical relationships, I think it's not that I'm saying you can never touch a woman, but touch women that you would be relatively happy. If worst case scenario, they got pregnant, you'd be relatively okay. Like, you wouldn't be ideal, but she's not the worst woman on the planet. When you drop your standards too low and you start sleeping with women on such a low level, what will happen is, just because you want sex, what will happen is when you meet a woman just slightly above the low level you're used to, you fall madly in love. Your standard starts to drop. You start to get used to a lower standard of woman. When you keep your standards high, the woman that it takes to marry you will still have to be high caliber. But are you a successful man who has achieved endless heights in his career? Are you somebody who's absolutely made it in his professional life, but his personal life just doesn't seem to match up? Are you somebody who goes through intense highs in business, but intense lows in your personal relationships? You might be somebody who has been blocking out relationships or entering relationships where you don't feel appreciated, or it's lacking the sexual or emotional intimacy that you require. If this sounds like you, then I have a program specifically catered to your needs. I've been helping high-end clients for a really long time, and I am able to identify the exact problems, the exact causes, and the exact solutions. So if this sounds like you, then please feel free to register below your details.
If you have been friend zoned by somebody, how do you get out of that?
you reframe how you see her. Instead of begging her to see you differently, you now also friend zone her. A lot of people will say you have to walk away from a friendship, and when a girl offers you a friendship, never be her friend again. I think you're missing out on really important data collection when you walk away from women that you were once attracted to and you don't become their friend. If she's friend zone you, no problem. There's plenty of room for friendships in your life. I think some of the most valuable friendships you can have is with women. And if you were once attracted to them and you became friends with them, you get an insight into their opinion on men. You get an insight into the women that you find attractive, how they think. So I've had men, many, like when I was younger and stuff, that may have had an initial attraction and then we became friends. But by me staying in their life, we give each other so much feedback. It's like, do you remember you did that? Oh my God, that was so creepy. Why did you do that? Why didn't you just say this
Do you
instead?
feel like that's a true friendship? Because you always hear those things on TikTok or Instagram where they had the woman call or like
him.
guy best friends like, hey, I'm single now. Do you want to go on a date? All the guys are like, yeah, would love to.
I think the truth behind a friendship is the boundaries you establish. And the key is you wouldn't make that phone call. Or the key is you wouldn't go to their house at that time of night. Because a lot of men would be like, oh yeah, what if you called them in the middle of the night and said that you were this? And I was like, but the key to the friendship is we wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but in a hypothetical, the door is still open for the guy.
The guy would always say yes. And the girl would say no.
Well, I think it's really important.
Pretty much, right? That's what we're getting.
Cut to the chase.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. Like, here's the thing. In my personal experience, I'm a bit of an anomaly like that because I'm very good at friend zoning myself to the point where my male friends cannot sexualize me anymore because they know me so well. I know them so well. It's such a different kind of vibe. So I understand I'm an anomaly. I do believe that perhaps that could happen in any circumstance. But the key to your friendships is that the friendship means more than the attraction, if there was any attraction. And that's what makes a true friendship. The friendship itself is more important than the attraction, and you want to keep them in your life more than you want to sleep with them. And that's when
I think that's true. But I think when a guy comes in initially with that expectation of I want to date, I find you highly attractive, and then the guy gets friend zoned, I feel like as soon as that door is opened, or if it's ever opened, because there was that initial spark of attraction. I mean, granted,
waiting game.
What if in the process of becoming a friend, you learn so much about her that you find unattractive? The reason I think it's really important.
Jack's like, nope.
Like, okay, I love the insight. I think this is a place where we would disagree.
Yeah.
I do think it's possible for guys and girls to be friends, but I'm saying this is a generalization. So light me up in the comments if you want to.
Yeah.
I would say of guys and girls friendships, maybe less than 6%, 7%. You know what I mean?
Maybe
like the guy
20,
would say,
maybe
the guy would say no. So, and even if he does find things very unattractive in the girl, the guy still is, like, they're still friends.
Yeah.
And guys get attracted to the fact that, oh, I've got to know this girl really well. I feel like I understand her personality and she knows me really well. Therefore, it's like Mr. Right instead of like, you know,
but
the
then
Mr.
I think it's really important to have human qualities as a criteria for sex. And what I mean by that is, yes, she might be a really great friend, but you should have some kind of deal breakers with even the people you sleep with. Now, if I know my friend inside out and I know what he's like and I know that he sleeps with lots of girls on a night out and I know that my friends might be cheaters, or I know that my friends have I'm not their usual type, or I know that if I know that they've got these traits in them, I have certain human qualities as part of my criteria to be with somebody. So if a man doesn't have human qualities, just the fact that she's saying yes is enough for him to jump on that. But when he knows that, oh God, she gets so drunk and she does this with every guy, or I know so many guys that have slept with her and it's just a bit off-putting, or I don't really need to deal with her in the morning, I know she's going to be really emotional. When he adds human qualities to the women that even he sleeps with, it's possible.
I think what Jack is getting at is that when both parties are single, there's a dynamic there that's slightly changed when one person finds the other attractive. And that doesn't really change. Now, assuming both people are single.
If both of them are single, well, it's not really a problem. That's not really a problematic outcome.
Well, I would say it's somewhat of a problem if he's not so forthright about the way that he feels and he is kind of like, you know.
This is after getting friend zoned.
But one thing I would say is lots of women get friend zoned as well. There's lots of women out there that have crushes on their male friend, hoping that he will become single. It's just that they don't talk about it as much. So it can be mutual. So if you find yourself in positions where your friends, you end up hooking up, she was also feeling that way for a long time. She had to have something initially for you, for her to even to go down that route. So if you ever are in a position where, you know, friends become something, both of you had this attraction. It wasn't one way. It wasn't one man getting out of the friend zone. It was both of you had some underlying attraction at some point. So it's more reciprocal than men realize.
So you think
Yeah.
it's possible to get out of the friend zone as a
If
guy?
she's attracted to you.
If she's not attracted to
If
you.
she's not attracted to you, then no.
There's nothing that you could do.
I don't think so. I think the only thing you can do is wait for her to give up on finding true love, and then she might resort to you.
God, that sounds horrible.
Yeah. That sounds terrible.
Would it be a Debbie Downer?
Is that
Really?
terrible?
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it's, if it's accurate, it's honest,
I would speak for I'm not saying every woman, but I just think if she's solidly friend zoned you and she's been through terrible relationships, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and you stayed there and she goes back to you, she's coming back to you as a source of comfort rather than actually like seeing you.
I've only seen it happen once where someone was friend zoned, like hardcore friend zone, and come back. This was in high school.
Mhm.
And this is a friend that I guess him and this, just trying to keep names vague, him and this girl had been friends for like a long time. He's hardcore friend zoned. Went off to college,
Mhm.
came back. The dude was a stud. I'm
That
saying
can
like he just all of a sudden sprouted like a foot
Uh-huh.
in college, came back with like a beard, got in shape, wore like great clothes. Then they started dating.
I think that can happen. I think you have to reframe.
Yeah.
And if they see each other, but you're not working on yourself to get her back, you just happen to be working on yourself and you see each other for a long time, it's almost like a fresh start.
He was a changed person. I mean, you could say everything was changed, like his attitude, style, like everything.
Then I think it definitely can. But if he's just consistently waiting in the wings, I think it will become a last resort. And also, you should lose attraction to a woman who's not super attracted to you. I think the key thing for a man is to remember that just because you're attracted, a part of your attraction to her should depend on her attraction to you. If she shows you no attraction for a long period of time, try and take her off a pedestal. Don't wait for her, but instead realize that there's women out there that would love to be with you. We don't put one girl on a pedestal. There's lots of women that would love to be with you, and you try and show appreciation to those women.
It's kind of a change of pace, but are daddy issues real?
Yes, in men and women, more so in men.
So what does that look like to someone with daddy issues? What's the stereotype?
In women, it very much looks like a real need for masculinity and masculine energy. And what that would look like is going from relationship to relationship. There's very few periods of singlehood with women who have daddy issues. And sometimes what it can be is accepting unacceptable behavior or having hyper expectations from a man, one or the other. They either, because they didn't have a male role model, they just accept unacceptable behavior because they just want a man in their life. Or if they didn't have a male role model and they were really like started to have a distaste towards men as a result, they will have hyper expectations that you have to provide for me, you have to do this, you have to basically make up for all of the missing holes in my life. So they can be on more extreme ends with women with daddy issues, but particularly how she frames it. Men with daddy issues, I always say, is a slightly more deeper issue that no one talks about. Men with daddy issues who genuinely dislike their father, they become people pleasers when it comes to women, and they suffer a lot in relationships. And what I mean by this is if they doesn't look, some men have really terrible fathers, that can happen, and it's justifiable. But if they don't internalize it and they just say, "Oh, we had a bad dad," whatever it is. But if there's some men who just had just critical fathers, you know how fathers can push you and be a bit aggressive and be a bit difficult with you. Some men, if they mistake that as, oh, he's such a narcissist, oh, he's so horrible, and he's not emotionally available, what will happen is they over-identify with women. They over-identify with their mum. They see their mum as this perfect angel and their dad is terrible. So when they go into the real world of dating, they see women as perfectly angelic and men are terrible. So they'll do everything to please their partner, everything. So they might realize that, their wife has cheated on them. And instead of thinking, well, why did my wife do that? They'll be like, who was he? He's this stupid, and they'll blame the man. So they can get disconnected from their masculinity and enter relationships almost as a girlfriend with a penis for their wife.
So how do you solve daddy issues? Is it just being aware of those things and just trying your best to
just make
make
sure
those
that you don't have a gendered way of looking at men and women? And what I mean by that is you're not a man who favors women simply because she's a woman. You favor people because they treat you well and treat you badly. You favor people based on that. And you're not a woman that totally hates men just because he's a man. You hate and like people according to their treatment of how they are with you. So it's making sure you come out into the real world, but not with an ungendered bias view of human behavior. Hi guys, welcome back to my Patreon, where every single week you can tune in and get exclusive content. Not only that, but you can also message me anytime and receive a response within 20